So recording. So, as you just said, there's some things you'd like to change from what you said at your last interview. Can you elaborate on that?
Oh, what I wanted to change?
Did you say there's some things that you'd like to change?
Yeah,
about
like
what you said on the interview.
one of my sons, the second son,
Uh-huh.
he went to, well, we lived in Monterey Park, so
Right.
they had to go to, what's that, Griffith Junior High School. And after that, he was supposed to go to Garfield High School,
Uh-huh.
but he had heard that Alhambra High School has more opportunities, and a lot of his friends went there, so he borrowed his auntie's address and went to Alhambra by bus. Yeah.
Jeez. That's very smart. Yeah. Yeah. If you think of anything else you'd like to change from your previous interview, please let me know and we can go
Oh,
into
yeah.
that. And so I was looking through the previous interview and picking out places where I maybe want to have a follow-up question. And so I have a list right here. And so basically my first question was, do you remember when World War II started? Do you remember Pearl Harbor happening? Do you remember those days?
Well, that was 1941. 41, right? Or was it 40?
41? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But do you have any memories from when the war started?
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure it was then, and so we really didn't know what it was exactly, what exactly happened. I was 11 years old, and but I knew that from the reactions from our parents and everyone around us that something terrible happened,
Oh. Did they, how did they react to?
Well, it was just terrible that Japan bombed Pearl Harbor.
Right.
It was just terrible.
Right. Did, up until between when Pearl Harbor happened and when you went to the relocation center, did you notice anyone treating you differently? Did anyone?
Oh.
Was
well, we had to leave the coastal area, Pismo Beach,
right,
to move to a white zone, which is towards the inner, the valley area, Visalia. And so I went to a junior high school there, and I don't know if they felt anything, but we felt like we weren't wanted there,
Yeah. Did that affect how you interacted with the students there?
Well, we just kept pretty much to ourselves.
Right. But no one ever said anything rude, anything like that?
No. But we just were wondering if, we were accepted there.
Right. Yeah. Did your parents tell you anything about the war, what was happening, or did you just in general know that something bad has happened?
Yeah, well, in general we knew, all that happened.
Right. Yeah.
And from what our parents were going through, we had to sell everything. And move out of that area, the coastal area, within 2 weeks.
Within 2 weeks.
We had to sell everything.
Do you remember, did you have to sell them for, very cheap? Were you cheap?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like nothing,
Oh, yeah.
And like I mentioned, my dad, I had some Japanese Girls' Day dolls, which I just love, but he put them in a trunk and buried a big hole in the backyard and buried all our treasures.
Did he ever explain his choice of selling everything else but keeping those? Did your dad ever talk about why was that, like, he decided, oh, we need to keep these?
Why we were what?
Why you decided to keep the dolls and the other Japanese artifacts, whereas everything else was sold? Did he ever explain, like, his choice?
Oh, no, he didn't.
Mm.
I think he thought maybe one day we might be going back to Pismo. You know, we just didn't know what was going to happen. So,
Right.
just in case we went back, we knew where they were.
Right. But then that didn't
Yeah.
happen. Yeah. And then, do you remember the day that you found out that you had to move, like, to Arizona, was it? To the relocation center?
Well, from Pismo we went to Visalia,
Uh-huh.
only for about 6 months, you know.
Right.
And they told us that we had to move.
Do you remember how you felt, like, each time you were moving? Like, was it? It was a long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we weren't sure how the American people thought, you know, about us being Japanese.
Right.
So I didn't make too many friends over there in Visalia. I just stayed pretty much to myself.
Right.
And a few Japanese friends, you know,
Mm-hmm.
how we would be accepted.
Yeah, that was the struggle. Like, can you describe? Because I remember you said in your last interview that the train was dark.
Yes.
Like they had all the blinds down.
Right.
Can you describe how else the ride was? Was the train crowded? Like how many people?
Oh,
were there?
yeah, it
Everything?
was just jam-packed, you know, every seat was taken.
Uh-huh.
And it was hot. I remember it was hot and dusty and very poor conditions, you know.
Right. Was
And
it? Yeah.
it took a long time to get to Arizona from Visalia, California.
Right. Yeah. Do you have any memories of how people were behaving on the train? Like how your parents behaved, how any adults behaved, how your friends behaved?
Well, they you know, didn't know exactly where we were going or what was going to happen to us.
Uh-huh.
So you could more or less feel the tension.
In the yeah. Yeah. And then once you arrived at the relocation center, do you remember your first impression when you stepped off?
Oh,
and you
it
saw
was miserable. It was just, here we come to a desert, you know. It was hot, like about 100 degrees.
Oh man.
And my mother got sick. She started vomiting, and
Right.
we just didn't know what was going to happen to us. You know, we didn't know we were going to be put into barracks. Everything was so uncertain for our future. We didn't know what was going to happen.
Can you describe the facilities at your relocation center for me? I remember you said you had a cafeteria, but not a hospital because you were in Camp 3, whereas Camp 1 has the hospital. Like,
Right.
what did you have in the relocation center? Like, what kind of facilities?
Well, there were tar-covered barracks with no partition,
Right.
and we were a family of 7,
Uh-huh.
5 children and our parents,
Uh-huh.
into one room,
Right.
no privacy,
Uh-huh.
and if we needed to go to the bathroom, we had to go to another area
Mm-hmm.
to go to the bathroom and shower or anything like that.
How did you feel? Did you know the word interned when
Intern?
interned, like internment camp intern?
No.
No?
No,
Not
I
at the
didn't.
moment? But how did you feel about, like, yeah, I know you said it was hot, it was, like, miserable, but do you remember, like, how you felt about just, like, just generally, like, being forced to move there? Like, do you remember that feeling? Like,
Yeah, well, yeah, we just weren't sure, exactly why we were there
right.
and
So a lot of confusion.
why we were stuck into barracks and just uncertain of our future.
Right. So what was the process of information spreading like? Like, how did you learn about, like, the state of the war? Anything,
Well, from our parents,
from your parents?
they all gathered and talked to each other about what's happening, and
Right.
so from them we would find out what little information
That
we could gather.
right. They didn't want to tell you much.
No,
No.
I could tell they were all talking among themselves, though.
Right. Did they hear from, like, the radios, newspapers? Like, how did they hear about information about the outside?
I really don't know how they got all that information.
Right, right.
I think it's from the radio.
The radio? Okay. And so you guys did have, like, radios and
Yeah.
things while you were there.
Yeah.
Um,
What did they call that? Shortwave? No. There was no television at that time. And so by word, by mouth, I don't exactly know how they got all their information. But
mystery.
that's how we gathered.
Yeah. I might have asked this before, but how were you treated while you were there? Like, how were the guards treating you?
We didn't have much, well, I didn't see too many guards,
No.
We didn't have too much interaction with them.
Was it just, like, kind of like a self-sustained kind of community? Like,
Yeah, right.
and
So we didn't have too much to do with them.
so, like, very separate.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. And so then I guess, like, you said you'd get your clothes from the Sears log, and then
Yeah, the Sears and Montgomery Ward, and
yeah.
and I think some of the mothers sewed very well, so yeah, they were able to, if we had asked them, they could sew things for us.
Oh wow. Do you know where everything else, like all the other supplies?
Well, there was one PX in each area, not in each block, but there's one area. I think we only had one PX in the whole Camp 3.
Oh man. What's a PX?
Where they sell things.
Okay.
General dry goods, not too many things,
Right.
and some refreshments. So if you were willing to pay out of your own pocket, you could go there and purchase whatever you can afford.
Were you willing to pay out of pocket for it?
Well, whatever my parents would give me, At that point in time, we weren't too worried about the finances.
Right. Did your parents save up before you went to the relocation center? Like, did they try to gather as much money as they could, or was that not allowed?
Well, it was so sudden, what they had in the bank is all they had.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And
So,
yeah. Um, you mentioned also that there were activities that they had for you, like basketball, like all those things. Were those just exclusively for the kids, and was it just sports, or like what in general? Can you describe like what activities they had for you?
Oh yeah, well if you're interested in basketball or volleyball or swimming,
Right.
well we didn't have a swimming pool at first, and then later on they built a swimming pool.
Oh wow.
Right, the people who live there, the volunteers.
Volunteers?
Uh-huh.
Volunteers to
The
work
people who
at-
lived there, you know.
Oh.
Uh-huh. They built the swimming pool.
For the camp?
Uh-huh. For our Camp 3.
Oh wow. So other people, do you feel like they were upset with how you were treated? Like people who lived in the area, that they came and built a pool for you guys? Did they want to help? Did you feel like?
The people outside of camp?
Yeah. Like they
We
came
had
in-
nothing to do with them. We don't even know where they lived or who they were, or we had no connection with them.
What about when the volunteers came and built the pool? Did you not have any
Well, those are the
interactions then?
people who lived there, you know,
Oh,
the internees.
okay.
Internees.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh,
they all
sorry.
got
I was
together and decided
confused.
to.
Uh-huh. And so you were allowed to you were allowed to like just go out there and build the pool? Like was there like a process behind that? Did you have to get approval? I'm not sure. If you don't know, it's fine, but
Yeah,
I'm
well,
just wondering.
anyone could go. It was open to the public. I'm sure it was.
But what I'm trying to get at is like what was the process behind trying to build the pool? Like where did you get all the things you needed basically for building?
All the materials to
Right.
build it.
Right.
I really don't know where they got it. But all I
mystery.
know is, you know, the young and the old, they all whoever can volunteer was out there helping
Oh wow, yeah.
to build the pool.
Did you feel while you were there that there was like a real sense of community where like everyone would help each other?
Yes, they were a sense of close, you know, they were all helped each other and
Yeah.
sense of community.
You also mentioned that there was a school in the relocation center.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about that? Like, what was your experience there? What did you learn?
What did I learn? Well, let's see, I was in the 8th or ninth grade, and a lot of the teachers were the people who had education in school before they went to camp,
Right.
and they volunteered and helped over there, taught us. You know, they weren't, they didn't have a teacher's degree or anything.
Right. And so
People who volunteered,
taught you.
but we did have some regular teachers that had their degrees from I don't know where, but there were quite a few of them.
And do you remember what lessons were like? Did you guys have textbooks, anything like that? Like, what was a typical day in a classroom like?
Well, to begin with, we didn't even have chairs, you
Oh
know.
man.
So they said, bring your own chair. So
Right.
for a while, we all had to bring whatever chair we had at home and carry it across to the school and take it back home again. Yeah, it was just terrible. And bring your own pencils and paper and whatever we needed in school.
Right. Did they have subjects? Like, did you learn like math, English,
Yes,
like everything
yes,
broken down?
Yeah.
Oh, so there was like a structured, kind of structured
Yeah,
class.
there was.
Okay.
Well, they more or less put it together, you know, the teachers and the volunteers.
Oh, okay. And did you spend a lot of time in school? Was it like a 9 to 2 type of like? Now you're in school.
Pretty much so, you know.
Uh-huh.
There was a break in the morning and
Uh-huh.
lunchtime, and we went home in the afternoon. I forgot what time it was, but we spent, I think, I really couldn't say, but we spent pretty much the whole day there.
Oh wow.
We even had PE classes.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
At the time, were you concerned about school? Like being in ninth grade, like were you concerned about like grades, like all these things? Like was that ever like a thought?
Yeah, well, I wasn't too concerned at that time.
Was anyone? Was anyone like concerned?
I'm
about it?
sure there were people who
Oh, wow.
were very much, yeah.
Concerned, yeah. And then I guess I'll come back to that one later. But, you said that you had to take your chairs to class.
Mm-hmm.
Was the facility big? Like the camp where you were staying at? Did you have to like drag it all the way across like your facility? Like how?
Yeah,
how
we
big?
had to drag it, and the classes were in barracks, you know.
Oh, okay. So
Uh-huh.
yeah.
So we had to take it to our classroom.
Hmm. And was the facility in general like big? Like
No, just the regular size of the barracks that we had, you know, the rooms that we slept in. They were all the same size, I think. Pretty much standard size.
And was the camp itself big? Do you feel like it was big?
Yeah, I think it was.
Huge? Yeah.
Yeah, people from all over. Some from San Diego, some from Los Angeles, all over California.
So a lot of people, yeah. Do you, okay. And so, that's what I have. And then, towards the end of your internment, like, were you told when you were going to be let go from the internment camps? Like,
Well, they said that, you know, they did announce that we were able to leave camps, so whoever had somewhere to go, like we had a family friend in Utah,
right.
and they said for us to come over there, and they will help us find housing.
Did a lot of people stay in the camp then? Like, did they?
Yeah,
have
they
places
did
to
stay
go?
till the very end, till they had to leave.
Oh, and when they had to leave, like they tore down the camp, and so they had to leave. Was that what happened?
Well, they I think had a date saying that you had to leave by a certain date.
Oh,
The camp
okay.
was gonna close.
Okay. Do you remember how you felt when they said you can go?
Well, I was sort of happy, you know. My dad, my mom had passed away already, so I got new clothes from Montgomery Wards, and we took this train and went to Ogden, Utah,
Right.
just to get out of that miserable camp.
So a much better train ride.
Yeah,
This time around.
Right.
And did you know what was the process of you being released from? Like, did they give you money? Did they like?
I don't know that. I really don't know what happened. Whether they gave my parents, my dad, any money. I don't think so.
No money.
No.
Oh wow.
You know, they were earning only $16 a month to work
Right.
there,
Right. Yeah.
and
Wow.
so those who can afford, I believe, to take the train and go to wherever they wanted to, were able to.
if they didn't have money saved up, did they just walk home?
Oh, no. Eventually, they had to leave.
Uh-huh. And so the trains were paid for by other
The government.
Okay. Okay. And how did your family friend in Utah have the means to host you guys?
Well,
Basically?
they said they would let us stay at where they were living, their facility, until we were able to find a house.
So their facility as in their camp.
Their home.
Their home?
They
Okay.
used to live in Utah.
Oh, so they were able to reclaim their home.
Well, I don't think they ever went to. There are some Japanese that never went to camp.
Oh.
And
okay.
our friends were so that they never went to a relocation center.
Mhm. Do you remember how people treated internment when you left camp? Like, because you went to school with like was it a largely white school
Yes,
in Utah? And so do you remember how they treated internment? Like, did they try to forget about it? Did they never mention it? Did they say anything
Well,
to you?
I really didn't know how they felt about us being there,
Right.
moving over there, and so I had very few friends,
Yeah.
So I really
Right.
did not interact with too many other students.
And what was your opinion about what had happened right after you left? Like, how did you feel about being at the relocation center after you left? Does that make any sense?
Yeah, well, I couldn't quite understand why we were put in there in the first place.
And so, can I ask, how do you feel about the fact that Japanese Americans were interned, but German Americans and Italian Americans who are from countries the U.S. were also at war with, were not?
Well, I thought that was very unfair.
Right.
Why did they just do that to the Japanese people?
Right. Do you have any idea of why? Like, why it was that only Japanese Americans were interned?
No,
No. Yeah. Has your opinion on internment changed? Sorry, has your opinion of the U.S. changed after you were interned? Like, and did your opinion of the United States of America change because of after internment or during internment?
Yeah, well, I thought it was, because of the war that all this happened, so
Right.
It was, I don't know.
And then, yeah. Okay, last question about internment. I'm sorry there's so many questions about internment. Last one. How would you describe your general experience with internment? That's a huge question, but...
The camp itself, you mean?
Yeah, just like being there, everything.
Yeah, well, I felt that I was able to make a lot of friends, new friends, and it was a new experience. Some were good experiences. Some were very sad, and I think I've learned a lot while I went to camp.
Can I ask, whether you identify, like, where do you lie on the spectrum of American to Japanese? Are you like somewhere in the middle? Are you towards like?
I think I'm more American. I was born in America and I
Right.
was raised there.
Right. So, how did you feel? I remember last time you said you went to Japan with your daughter.
Yes.
And so, how did you feel going to Japan and like seeing all that? Was that your first time to Japan, first of all?
Oh, no, it was, that's the second time I went.
second
First time I went with my husband when he was alive, on
Uh-huh.
a tour.
Oh.
And we enjoyed it very much.
Uh-huh.
Well, of course, you go to all the nice places, stay at the nice hotels, eat good food, and,
Right.
we thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah. And what about going with your daughter? Was it generally the same experience? Like,
Oh, yeah, we
just had a blast?
mother-daughter experience, we went to all the places we wanted to go to, especially to Kyoto, to see all the different places that we heard of,
Right.
and we thoroughly enjoyed it.
Was there ever a moment where you felt kind of like, did you feel like kind of like a foreigner when you were in Japan? Or
Oh,
like,
no,
what was your
no,
experience
not
with
at
that?
all. There's so many people there, it's so crowded, and we just go our own merry way.
Right. And so where
Yeah.
would you prefer, Japan or here? America?
Oh, of course, America.
America.
Yeah, one place I didn't want to go, I've gone to before, is Hiroshima, to see the place where they dropped the atomic bomb. That was such a, terrible experience to see all that.
Right.
And so on our second tour, I told my daughter I didn't want to go to Hiroshima.
Oh, yeah. So,
It was just, devastation.
do you feel like, how do you feel about the U.S. that they did that?
That
That they did Hiroshima and Nagasaki?
Well, I think, in order for the war to end, they had to do this.
Right. But still,
So-
it's tragedy.
It was tragic, but this is something that just had to happen.
Necessary for the war. Okay.
Yeah, like I said, all three of my brothers joined the United States Army.
Oh. Did they go willingly? Because I remember.
Yeah, my oldest, they were, all three of them, they were inducted.
Oh. And so.
But they did not have to fight, the war was
okay.
over for
Right.
all three of them, so.
So they just had to serve out like the rest of like routine military duty and stuff.
Right.
Did you keep in contact with them? Like, were you able to?
Oh, yes,
keep in
we
contact?
sent letters, and
Mhm.
they sent us letters and sent us souvenirs and
Oh.
things like that.
Did you ever get, like, do you know how their experience was in the American military?
Well, they wrote to us
Uh,
to tell us all the things that happened, sent us pictures,
oh, okay.
so we had contact with them that way.
Oh. And so, at the moment, when your brothers were away, you have 4 brothers, right?
Right.
And so it was you, while the 3 of them were away, it was you, your younger brother, and your dad who were
Right.
living. Where were you living at that time? When it was the 3 of you?
Well, different places because we moved around so
Right,
much.
right.
My
Yeah.
oldest brother, we were in camp when he was inducted into the Army.
Oh.
And then the second one, we were in Utah.
Mhm.
And the third one, we were also in Utah.
Were you sad to see them go? Especially your first brother when he left camp. Were you sad to see him go? Or
Yeah, we missed him.
how did
But he did leave camp to work in Chicago.
Oh.
So That's when it happened, really.
So you were allowed to leave to work.
Yeah, right.
What do you know what he worked in? Like what business he worked in?
Well, he was only about 18 or 19.
Oh,
He was
wow.
quite young.
Uh-huh.
And so I don't think he really worked. He was trying to make a living somehow.
Right, right. Yeah. And in the process of trying to look for work, he got drafted. into the
Right,
Army.
right.
Okay. And so, and then with your brother, your other brothers, was it largely the same? They were just drafted, and so they had to go.
Right.
Did they ever express at any time that like maybe they didn't want to join the military, or did they? Was there ever like were they happy to go? Were they?
They were willing to go.
They were willing to
yeah,
go,
they didn't.
but not not happy.
Not happy or anything. They didn't know exactly what they were going to get into.
Right. Yeah.
My youngest brother, he's crippled. So that's why he was not drafted.
Okay. So how was it then, living the three of you together? Like, how was I don't know the phrase. How was life while while it was the three of you?
Oh, let's see. We were in Monterey, and I was going to Monterey High School, and had my own activities, and we just were happy.
Oh, that's good. I'm trying to think of. And so I guess. So. What is your? This is such a huge question. What is your opinion on how your life has been? Like, throughout the whole, everything that's happened, and now you're here, like, what is your opinion on
life?
Yeah, there you go. Huge question.
Yeah, well, I didn't think I was able to live normally like most people because my mother died so early, and I was responsible. I was the only daughter.
Right.
4 brothers, always cooking and cleaning the house, and I couldn't go to the school I wanted to go to because I had responsibilities at home.
Right.
And so that's, and I went to work after I finished business school.
Right. And so, do you feel like you had to grow up too quickly? Like, did you have responsibilities too early on?
I think so, partly as a caregiver, because my dad was ill so often. And all my life I've been a caregiver to relatives and friends.
How do you feel about having the caregiver role? Was it just something like you feel like you accepted? Were you happy?
Well, it was just given to me, It was,
right.
Not that I wanted it, but because of circumstances. So I just feel I was caregiver most of my life.
So how do you feel about that, like having that role put upon you? Like, how do you feel about
I didn't think it was fair,
Oh.
but it was just because of circumstances.
Right. So, do you feel like maybe this is a weird question. Do you feel like maybe like your brothers could have been caregivers? Like, do you feel like was there anyone else who could have helped? Did you have any help, first of all? Or were you
Um,
largely on your own in that respect?
Uh, they would help if they had to.
They had to.
But
They don't like to.
yeah, they all had their own things to do, so.
Did you have any free time ever? Like, did you have free time growing up?
Well, I didn't get to do all the things I would have liked to have done, you know.
And what would you have liked to have
To
done?
go with my friends to different places, my girlfriends,
Right.
vacation or whatever, and do things I would have liked to have done.
Were your other Japanese friends able to do that? Like go on vacation and do these things?
A few of them,
A few
not all of them.
Okay. Was it because, like, why were they able to do that? Do you feel like were their family more fortunate, like more lucky in terms of?
Well, a lot of them, they were strict too, you know.
Oh.
They didn't allow their daughters to go on vacations.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, what about? Did you have any hobbies growing? I remember you said you played basketball, tomboy,
Yeah,
type of thing.
volleyball,
Uh-huh.
and I just like sports.
Oh, okay. Did you have time to do it though after everything? After
Yeah, I made time, you know,
Made
to
time,
do. Yeah.
Makes time for the stuff that you like to do. And what about at school? Did you have like after school activities that you like to do, like a club or like anything like
I
that?
didn't join any clubs, you know. I know a lot of people at Roosevelt High School, they had different clubs, and I was asked to join, but I had other responsibilities at home,
Right.
so
Right.
I didn't do that, didn't join.
Were you largely a caregiver to your dad or to your brother or just to like everyone?
To everyone.
Everyone?
Yeah, everyone that, you know, had gotten sick or anything. It just seemed like I had to be the one to cook for them or care for them. It just seemed like I was a born caregiver.
Do you feel like you're a born caregiver? Like, do you feel like?
It just feels like I was.
Oh, okay. Because of
For all the people that I've taken care of, cooked for, and took care of.
Do you ever wish that you would have had time to do, like, that you weren't given the caregiver role? Do you ever wish that that didn't happen?
Yes, yeah.
And then you had time. What do you feel like you would have pursued if you didn't have the responsibilities that you did in caregiving?
Well, I just, you know, was able to go to a business school for a year and a half, I believe, and I would have liked to have gone to a school, higher education, and get a better degree.
Yeah. Sorry for all the questions. You, trying to think. Is there anything else I want to ask? I'm not really sure. So what was your relationship like with your brothers then? Did it feel like they were your brothers, or did you feel like you were like taking care of them, like kind of like a mother would?
Oh no, because I was the second from the youngest.
Right.
So, you know how brothers are. You could fight with them if you had to. Fight for the car, and we only had one car, so, you know, I says, I have to go shopping, so I need the car, you know.
Right.
The family car, and so, and I always had to ask them to help clean the house.
Right. Yeah. They should help too. It's also their house.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And did you all live together? Like, how long
Yes.
did you all live together for?
Well, until we all got married one by one.
Oh.
I think I was the first one to get married.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
In fact, I was happy to go leave.
Happy to leave, yeah.
And then my oldest brother got married the same year, and then the next year my second to the oldest brother, and then
Wow.
the third brother,
Like,
and then the
boom,
fifth
boom,
one.
boom.
Yeah, yeah. Once one person got married and left, they all left.
And then when you guys got married in like very rapid succession, did you guys all like keep close to each other? Did you
Yeah,
live
we
close to
more or
each other?
less lived in the same area.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so would you say you're very close? You were very close to your brothers, like all of them.
Well,
Uh-huh.
I would say pretty
Close
close.
family. Huh. That's cool.
Especially my youngest brother, because he had a handicap.
Uh-huh.
I felt sorry for him,
Mhm.
so I more or less mothered him.
Yeah. And so then, do you feel like having a caretaker role made it easier when you became a mother yourself?
Yes,
Like, like
yeah,
really
I've
help?
had, I
Uh-huh.
feel I had the experience to do things.
Mhm. So was motherhood hard for you? Was
Oh,
it-
no,
no,
no. I had 3 children, and
Right.
I enjoyed raising them, doing all their help, participating in all their
Uh-huh.
activities, especially sports.
Uh-huh.
And,
Sports, yeah.
yeah, very much enjoyed, doing whatever they did growing up.
Mhm. Did you feel like, in part, it was a chance to like do things that maybe you weren't able to as a kid?
Pardon?
Did you feel like in like helping your kids, it was in part like, did you feel like you got to experience things that maybe you didn't get to as a kid, like through helping your own kids?
Like,
Mhm.
I was able to do things because of, I'm sorry, I didn't.
Oh no! It's
I-
totally fine. Because you said that there were things that you weren't able to do as
Uh-huh.
a kid because of responsibilities and everything.
Right.
Do you feel like through helping your kids, you were able to maybe live some of the experiences that you missed out, like you didn't get to experience when you were growing up?
Yes, I definitely, think that it was of help to me.
Oh, okay. And so, hey. And so, yeah. Were your kids good? Were they like well-behaved kids?
Well, let's see, when we lived in Monterey Park, I decided to go to work
Mm-hmm.
when the youngest one was about 8 years old, because we lived 2 blocks from the school.
Oh, yeah.
And I decided to work at East LA College, which was just 2 blocks away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I worked there for 22 years.
Oh.
And for lunch, I would go home, wash the rice, help start preparing dinner, and go home, go back to work. And I had the oldest son. I'll be responsible, keep an eye on the other children, the younger ones. And if there was any problem or anything, they could always run to my office, because I was just 2 blocks away from where we lived. So it was so convenient.
Right. Did you enjoy your job?
Yes,
your
very
job?
much.
Yeah.
At first, I worked in the health office at the college as a secretary. And then, at first I worked in the admissions office, which was quite hectic, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And then I got my promotion, so I went to the health office. And I had a very good boss, and so I enjoyed it very much.
Oh, that's great.
And then I went on to, the health office closed.
Oh, man.
Yeah, at East LA College, so I was transferred over to the nursing department where I was secretary. But, you know, I enjoyed that very much, working with all those faculty and environment.
Huh. And what did your husband do for a living?
He worked for the city
Okay.
Department of Airports. He was an upholsterer.
Oh.
So he did upholstering for... at first he worked for a private company, but eventually he worked for the city of Los Angeles Department of Airports.
Ooh.
So...
very interesting jobs.
yeah, he enjoyed it.
Did you, I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, do you identify as Buddhist?
Yes, I was Buddhist because my parents were Buddhists. You know, it just, it just seemed like I had no choice. I became a Buddhist because I was raised as a Buddhist all my life.
Have you ever, so you've like consistently always been a Buddhist?
Yes.
Have you ever like strayed from that or like no?
No.
There's always, have you raised your kids to be Buddhist as well? Yeah.
So, I don't know, it just came naturally that they would become Buddhists.
Was your husband Buddhist as well?
Yeah, he was too.
Wow. Just like passing it on.
Yeah.
Were there any other thing, as Buddhism aside, were there like other things that you passed on to your children, do you feel? Like, what do you feel like you passed on to your children? That's a big question.
I wanted them to be active in sports, especially. All three of them. And, well, Boy Scouts.
Wow.
Brownie. My daughter was a Brownie. And I was active with whatever me and my husband were active in whatever they, went into. Boy Scouts. My husband was the Scoutmaster, and I was the den mother for the younger ones. I forgot their names. Not the Brownies, but the Cub Scouts.
Cub Scouts, there you go.
Wearing that uniform and,
Aww.
doing things, whatever the children did, I enjoyed doing.
Aww. That's so sweet. Yeah. So motherhood was like fun for you.
Yeah.
It was fun
right,
time.
Right.
Yeah. What about when they were teenagers? Did it change?
Oh, yeah. When my son turned 16, the oldest one insisted he wanted a car, so we did buy him a Camaro. And
oh, wow. Wow. Yeah.
It's a pain in the neck.
Okay. I apologize on behalf of teenagers everywhere. Teenagers are awful.
Yeah, so my second son, that's what I wanted to retract. He was going to Griffith Junior High School, which is the area that we lived in, but because there were more opportunities if he went to Alhambra High School, he got permission to go to another area.
By putting his aunt's address. Very
And
smart though.
that's the reason why, you know, he didn't go to Garfield.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So how are your kids now? Are they all married? Are they?
Yeah, they're all married. The oldest one is 61.
Oh.
And
That's so
he's
sweet.
active here with the
Oh yeah. Gary.
yeah, Gary.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
That's weird. My dad is 65, so it's
61, and then
Yeah.
the second one. Well, he lives in this area too, in San Gabriel, West Covina.
Oh.
And the youngest one, my daughter, lives in Fullerton, which is the reason why I moved to Fullerton, because we were babysitting the children, and it was just too hard to commute. Because coming here, going to Fullerton from Monterey Park was like 42 miles, you know,
Oh,
back.
yeah.
And so we decided to buy a home in Fullerton,
Wow.
where we
Yeah.
live now.
Yeah.
And all the kids are close by.
Yeah, they're very close by.
Yeah,
Very close knit. That's awesome.
yeah.
How's being a grandparent then? Is it different from motherhood in like any way?
Well, it is different because it's the parents' responsibility
Right.
to raise them.
Yeah.
So I enjoy going to all their activities,
Right.
and
And at the end of the day.
yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah. I think that's all I got.
Is that it?
Do you have anything that you'd like to add? Anything maybe like, I don't know, anything.
Oh. Well, gee, I don't know.
Yeah.
I enjoy, you know, my grandchildren, and they're keep in touch with the school that, well, keep track of what school they're going to, and their activities.
Actually, I think you mentioned last time that your grandchildren are very interested in your life. So like, am I remembering this wrong? Like your grandchildren wanted to see like where you grew up and like all these things. Is that true?
Yeah, we were, you know, pretty close, rather than the other side, because the other grandparents lived in Culver City,
Oh.
and I lived right here
Oh.
with them, where they, you know, close to where they live. So, because I used to babysit them, and then go to their school and pick them up and everything. It seems like I was more in contact, close in
Right.
contact with them than
With like
the others.
right. Do they ever ask? Do they ask about like your experiences?
Oh, yes.
Yeah? Oh
uh-huh.
yeah.
Yeah.
How old are they?
How old? Let's see. Derek is 25.
Oh, okay.
He's going to University of Monterey,
Ooh.
and Tyler is at Santa Barbara, UC Santa Barbara.
Ooh.
He's a freshman, just starting.
I'm a freshman. Yeah.
Oh,
Same here.
So you're about 18 years old?
I just turned 19.
Oh,
so.
yeah, he'll be turning 19 in May.
Oh, yeah. That's exciting.
And he loves it over there. He found a
I'm
girlfriend.
Sure. Oh.
And so, well, there's only two that are in school. The older, Gary's older daughter, she graduated from UC Riverside.
Oh, my brother goes there.
Oh,
Small
really? Yeah, and now she's planning to go on to get her master's.
Oh, very impressive. are any of them? Do you know if any of them are doing majors in like Asian American studies, or like what are they majoring in?
I wasn't too close in contact with the classes they were taking.
Yeah. It's all good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's all I got.
Okay.
I think that's what I got. So yeah.
I hope I didn't mess up your.
No. Yeah, it's my job to like prompt you and like, so yeah, you did absolutely fine. It was all good.
Okay. Well, I enjoyed talking to you.
Oh,
and,
thank you.